What's going on, Chaz?
All right, yourself, brother. How you feeling today?
I'm doing good. It sounds like you got a cold or something, man. You coughing.
No,
What's that all about?
my throat was dry as you were going on, but I'm feeling good. I'm fired up. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well myself. I just want to tell everyone that's watching this broadcast, first of all, we appreciate you watching the broadcast every Wednesday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. It can be
Right.
seen at 7 o'clock Eastern Time as well. We're just going to finish up a discussion that we started. It seemed like we can't get rid of it, but it's called Why the Emphasis on Materialism. This was a baby that you wanted to do for many, many months. So I want to ask you before we get into some of our notes, why did you have this on your heart so much to do this broadcast about materialism?
Like I said, it's excuse me. It's everywhere. It's something that we all are dealing with. A lot of people in our families, or just people in general, we're so caught up in this, and in fact, we're spending a lot of money that we necessarily don't have to try to like keep up this high impression. And I think it's important that we all do this. Before we move on, real quick, I was gonna say you must have drunk you some Gatorade or something because yesterday you had a show, so you working overtime today. You gonna have enough energy to finish?
Yeah, actually, every first and third Tuesday of the month on the John Kev show, we do that, and then it just so happened you and I are on Wednesday. So yeah, every other week I'm doing some double duty, but I'm still ready to go. I'm fired away. So
Okay.
let's get into our subject tonight. We're talking about why the emphasis on materialism. So I want you to read this, Chaz, before we get going, because this is going to lay the groundwork for what we're going to be talking about tonight.
Materialism. The belief that having possessions and things are the keys to happiness and success, often placing more importance in accumulation than on relationships, values, or personal growth.
Yeah, that's true, Chaz. When we talk about materialism, we have to look at why do we act the way we act towards things. Now we're going to see a video later on in the broadcast. It was done in 1954, man, but it's talking about how to sell to us. And when they learned the secrets to sell to us, African Americans, now it is outdated in that it uses the term Negro, but yet nowadays the principles are still the same as far as how they know what to sell us and how to sell us, and they just know the secrets into making us material. And I guess we really need to talk about that.
Brother, real quick, give me like 30 seconds, real quick, and I'll be right back.
Okay, so what I want to do is I'll keep talking while you take a quick break. Chaz is leaving, but I want you all to know that when we talk about materialism, we're talking about the mindset that many of us have when it comes to things. A lot of us have lost we've gone insane. We've lost our minds when it comes to materialism because we have been brought up on that. We've been told that we need to get things. We've been told that as a people that we have to accumulate things because those things give us status and all of that affluence. And so what Chaz and I are talking about today is we're talking about why it's important to emphasize not being material because many of us are materialistic. So here's another one where we left off at, Chaz, when we talked about why many of us are material.
Number 5, peer pressure. Trying to keep up with friends, family, neighbors, or colleagues who have certain possessions. Yeah, and we often do that, and we may not say it verbally to them, but if we see our coworkers have pulled up in a new Range Rover or a Bentley or something nice, we may not have the funds, but we kind of say to ourselves, well, I would like to see myself rolling down the street in that, blaring some LL Cool J or something like that. So we go out and we try to get these things. So not only necessarily our co-workers, our families, friends, they have things such as nice homes. Some of the things, and it's like in a silent way. We don't tell them, but silently we see what they have, and then we try to mimic them. And then sometimes they'll say, I didn't know you had that. Yeah, because they saw that you had it, so now they went out and mimicked it. So it's a tough thing trying to keep up constantly with the society and peer pressure and family.
And I think that's so vital what you just said, because when you really look at peer pressure, if we're honest, and we always try to be honest with our people that watch the broadcast, the honesty has to do with many of us are like children. When we're children, we like what others have. We want to have whatever someone else we see with. But now as we're adults, it's the same thing. It's just a matter of we're older adults now, but in our hearts, we're still children. So we're trying to break the cycle tonight. We're trying to get people to look at themselves, look at their lives, and not to be so much materialistic and don't allow anyone, because of a peer pressure, to do and get ourselves in debt the way we normally do, and this is why we're so materialistic. But let's say hello to our guest, Chazz, and then we'll go to our next point that we're going to have.
Okay. Sister Mashonda is in the building. She says hello. She's in here. We appreciate that. Sister Marie's in the building. She fires in here. She says, Hotep Kings. We appreciate her. Nuji's in the building. She fires in here. She says, peace and blessings, fam. We appreciate her as well.
Okay, Chazz, here's another reason why a lot of us are materialistic.
Number 6, cultural respect. In many societies, material wealth is often equated with achievement, success, and respect. Yeah, and like I said, it's almost to a point where you may work a basic job or something just basic, a call center or Amazon or something like that. But normally in this society, brother, it's like when you have a job, you have to show your success. You have to have this flamboyant car, this nice home, these motorcycles, Hellcat Chargers, all these things. It's like we have to show it. And I'm going to say this real quick. Sometimes showing a lot of our possessions is how we get in trouble. People get envious, they get jealous, and I don't wish this on somebody, but that's how a lot of people can get robbed when you constantly are flossing your materials. But society has done a terrible job at this, where they equate wealth and success with your material goods.
And what we don't realize is this so-called cultural respect, it's not really respect at all, Chazz. What it is, it's a pseudo respect. Because they don't respect you because you have things. Sometimes people think you're foolish because we don't need a house and we have enough wealth to buy it, but we want to get a house that has 55 rooms in it and it's only 2 or 3 of us. So when we're trying to front, as the young folk would say, we're trying to be more than we are. We want people to think highly of us. And it goes back to, as we often say, when a person is not sure about who they are, they want to acquire things to make others think that their wealth or their material possessions is actually who they are. And as I said last week, those are just possessions, but we have forgotten because we say, if I buy this, I'm going to get respect. Well, you're really not going to get respect as long as you're an African-American in the United States. What you're going to do is get in debt if you don't have it. But we equate things with success and respect, and that has nothing to do with that. Wouldn't you agree with it?
A 50-50. I think a lot of people, say, for example, if you were an average Joe, like I see, worked at call center, and you didn't have that, but all of a sudden you start acquiring certain things, I do think a lot of people would start to give, not all people, I think a lot, especially our black people, brother, I think a lot of people start looking at us different, like, what? I didn't know you had that. They give you accolades. So I do kind of think they will give you respect to some extent once they start seeing you constantly improving. So it's like a giver. I think I would say, brothers, 50-50 in my opinion.
Okay, good. I won't push back on that because that is definitely true. Because some people, I keep forgetting, we go crazy when we see a person with things, and in our mind we say, whoa, I'm gonna respect that person because they have things. And so I think that's a valid point. So let's go on to the next point.
Number 7, materialism is a bad habit, and it's conditioning that many of us have been taught from a young age. I would definitely agree. Since we were in elementary, middle school, high school, we've been always taught that materialism was basically the gusto. That's all you need. You don't have to have good manners. You don't have to have loyalty. All you need to do is just have materialism. In fact, it's even taught us to go to the extreme to get it. Rob people to get it. Hurt, harm innocent people to get it. And no, it is not something I condone, but I'm just saying, as it says on the screen, materialism has been beat down our backs since a young age, and that is totally right, and it's unfortunate.
Right.
Brother Ray fires in here. He says black empowerment. Okay.
Yeah, that's true. What I want to do now, Chazz, I want the audience, if they will just give us 2 minutes of their time, I want to show them a video that was done in 1954, and it's talking about the 3 secrets to selling to the Negro. And it goes around to teach us about how people see us, how they know how to sell to us, because we're so materialistic. And this video is really timeless. Even though it's 50 something years or so ago, it's still true today, Chazz, when we look at it. So I'm going to ask everyone to just kind of hang in there with us. Let me dial this video up and let us see what this is talking about, because I think there's so much truth to it. And then we'll talk about it. So we're talking about materialism today. And this is why we need to talk about it, because of what we're about to see. All right, everybody, hang in there, and I'm getting it ready for us now.
Okay.
Here is what sales psychologists have to say about selling to the Negro.
The secret of selling to the Negro is expressed in one word. That word is recognition. Now, there's nothing unusual about that. People want to be recognized. They need recognition. That's basic in all of us. But perhaps because he's had so little of it, the Negro needs even more. He needs to feel important and appreciated. This need is a very real and important one. It shows up even in many of the Negro's shopping habits. Anyone who sells or wants to sell to the Negro customer should know about some of these habits. 3 habits in particular play a big part in every sales transaction. To begin with, most Negroes buy by brand. They ask for products by name. They're quick to turn down off-brands. Buying by brand, that's the first important Negro buying habit. Now for the second. The Negro buys good quality merchandise. Symbols of quality and prestige are very important to the Negro customer. This woman, for example, is buying fine crystalware. But she is also buying the admiration and approval of her friends and relatives. Listen to her thoughts.
My, isn't it beautiful? I can hardly wait to show it to Sally and Joan.
It's a well-known fact that many Negro customers are influenced by the opinions of others. What their friends may think of a certain item often decides whether or not the sale is made. So remember, the Negro buys quality merchandise. That's the second important point. And here's the third thing to remember when selling to a Negro customer. When he specifically asks for one thing, don't try to sell him something else. Don't try to switch him at the point of sale. If you do, he'll probably react something like this.
Doesn't he think I've got the money to pay for it?
The Negro resents being offered a substitute. He wants to be sold on quality, not price. The Negro buys by brand, he buys quality, and he doesn't like to be switched at point of sale. These are the keys to selling the Negro customer.
According to leading researchers, in proportion to population and income, Negroes buy more quality products than any other comparable United States group.
Man, that narrator had us down to a pat. He had us down pat. And it's funny that
Come on, Chaz.
No, it's funny that this took place, you said, like in 1954, but the 2 things that stuck out to me was one where the lady, I believe, was in the store, and he was basically saying that she basically was trying to buy for the approval of her peers and family. And then the other one that stuck out to me was where, and it showed the black guy looking angry, when he has his mind set on purchasing something, don't offer him something else. I mean, bro, these people have us down pat, and it's a shame that they know us African Americans down that well to where they got us figured out perfectly. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree with you 100%, Chaz, because materialism is something that we act as if is not happening right now. And many of us, in fact, most of us, we're all material to some degree because we have to have things. But what we're talking about is an overabundance, an overindulgence. And this is what a lot of people don't want to talk about. So we must talk about it. And I believe this is why our children, Chaz, and let's be honest tonight, this is why our children grow up and be just like those customers that the guy just said, because we don't sit them down and tell them, you don't need all of that. See, we have to be practical. And he said the 3 points that I remember, he says, the first thing is we like to buy by brand. Like you mentioned earlier, if it's not a certain brand, we don't want it. We think something, Then he talked about many of us, we like quality. If it's not Gucci, if it's not the latest fashion, although we're spending money that we don't have in many instances because we're materialistic. And then last, don't try to switch the price. I've heard that in many instances where you try to switch somebody from buying something and they say, if it's not such and such, I don't want it. Or they say, oh, I know I can afford that. Why he trying to sell me something cheap? I got the loot for it. So this is what turns us into materialistic people. And I think we definitely got to keep that up. We may show this later on in the video and the broadcast, rather, if someone else joins us and they didn't see it, because that's worth seeing, Chazz. I know it is. It's worth seeing.
Yeah, that was definitely well said. We got a new commenter, Sister Barbara. She fires in here. She says, greetings. We appreciate her. Sister Marie fires behind her. She says, that video is so true. And
it is so true. And I'm glad she said that, because, when you go to any place and you hear truth, and I'll take church, for example. When you go to church and the preacher is saying some things, and when it's true, people say amen, right? When we talk about truth, you and I know, and I don't mean this literally, but very people like to comment. And I don't know if it's because sometimes we're stepping on toes, but Chazz, that video, I have not seen anything so profound, if you will. That's prophetic, if you will, because those tips that they said back then, I know they're still using them today, and we're both attesting to it. Why? Because many of us, we're very materialistic, and we have to, man. We have to.
Yeah.
See, this is killing us.
Absolutely. Number 9. We've been given a constant dosage of psychology of the importance of getting things, and that's been beat down our heads, from magazines to TV to some of the TV shows to some of the content we view on YouTube. It's just this constant beat down of telling us, you gotta buy, and the negative side effect to that is that it teaches you, to me, that if you don't have these things, then basically you're not a good individual. You're sorry, you're worthless, nobody wants to be around you. So it teaches you the direct opposite. And it's like, if a person works all their life, they work as hard as they can, and they can't accomplish to get some of these things, then they just think that they're low. And that's just not true. I definitely disagree with that thought process.
And whatever happened to be grateful for what you can afford, you see? But we always want to go over and beyond, because as the guy said in the video, like the young lady, she wanted to show her friends so her friends can say something about her, like, look at her. She's really something. Look at that glassware that she's drinking out of. And a lot of times it's really foolish if you think about it, because at the end of the day, we end up in debt. And do we really need to? I've not seen a discussion between two people where one person said to another person, look at what I have. I have all these things. And the other person says, do you really need it? See, do you really need those things? Well, see, that'll start an argument. That'll start a fight.
Yeah.
And we have stooped to such a low level. And this broadcast is about encouraging people. We don't want this to be for the people that's watching this broadcast. We don't want this to be for anyone. But unfortunately, we're already in the situation, Chazz, where we have to try to get things because we're materialistic. And I think the next point that you're going to read, I'll let you say a few things about it, because at the end of the day, in many people's lives, not everybody, but at the end of the day, in many of our lives, here's the problem right here.
Number 10, some of us are trying to fill a void in our lives so we can turn material things to bridge that gap. Yeah, that is true. Some of us, and this is no knock, we all go through this. We feel empty, we feel depressed, we feel angry, we're anxious. It's something like we feel like we're missing. And when we constantly feel that gap that we're missing, we go out and we try to get things. We go out and try to get new cars, clothes, all this stuff, because we feel depressed on the inside. And once again, if you can't manage what you have internally, no matter how much you buy, no matter how much you acquire, you're still going to feel empty on the inside. And in fact, I'll even say it's worse, because sometimes when people buy all this stuff, it even gets them more in a hole, because they're constantly looking for something that is, I would say, spiritual, but they can't capture it because they're trying to, purchase all these things. So I would definitely agree with this, that most of us are trying to fill some kind of void in our life.
Wow, that's nothing but the truth, Chazz. And I definitely have to say I concur to that, because you hit something really that was deep-seated, and I think we need to open it up now. And it all has to do with this void. This void is something internal, if you will. It's something on the inside of us that hasn't been fulfilled yet. And because we don't know how, Chazz, we want to buy things to try to fill that gap, you see. And no matter what we get, we always want something else, because things will not fill the void of a person who's lonely, a person who's stressed out, a person who's depressed. And this is why a lot of us act the way we act because there's a void inside of us. And again, we want to encourage those who are watching this. We hope that this is not you. And if it is me, and if it's you, Chazz, and if it's those who are watching, we want you to change and don't be that way, because these things will kill you. You'll never find a thing that's going to fill the void in our lives. We should not have voids in our lives because we should love who we are. And so that's just a little information that we want to share with you, because oftentimes we give points and we don't encourage. But tonight we want to encourage you that materialistic things are not going to fill a void if that's what you're dealing with right now.
Yeah, they're not. Number 11, some of us are material. Some men, because we're trying to attract partners, competing for mates. Now, that in itself could be talked about for weeks, months, and years to come. Now, we all are. Some of us, like I said, we have these clothes that we're trying to buy to attract the other. Some of us are trying to buy all these expensive cars just to attract the mate. Now, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with having a car, clothes, or anything like that, but when it gets to a point where you're going in debt, you don't have it, or you're trying to constantly court someone, the only way you can get their attention is if you get these things, then that's just terrible. And in fact, like you talked about yesterday, why would you even want to put yourself in that position? Because you know, if you didn't have these kind of things, that woman would not give you wouldn't give you the time of day. So I had to bite off of you from yesterday. That was said, and I thought it was well put. But I think some of us, man, once again, there's nothing wrong with getting these things. But when we're going in depth and trying to impress someone who doesn't like us for us, then you're just totally missing the boat, I would say.
You're definitely true. And this is what I'm saying, Chazz. This is so internal, because many of us men, here's the catch. Many of us men are so material that we're trying to attract a woman by the clothes we wear, the jewelry we wear, the bling blings, the glasses are a certain kind of glasses, Ray-Ban or something, and we got gold all around our neck. But what we don't realize is
cologne.
The woman, cologne. and Chazz, the woman that we're trying to get, she's so materialistic. So it's like the next man that can outdo me, he's going to win because he has better smelling cologne. He has more expensive jewelry. You know, his glasses are so great that you push a button and they talk to you, they fix you a sandwich or something, you see. So what's going on is, so we're constantly competing because she's materialistic and we're materialistic. And if a person doesn't like you for who you are, you know the rest of that. If they don't, but that's what happens to, and women too, they want to wear certain, and listen, I'm not against people who like to dress up, because we all should like to get dressed up in instances. But some people like to get dressed up so others can look at them, Chazz, because they're materialistic. They have every kind of clothes you can think of, every pair of gym shoe, every type of shoe, every type of pants, every type of shirt. You know, Chazz, this is unnecessary, and I guess we definitely have to talk like this because this is a problem in our lives.
It definitely is. And for my young brothers, it's like I watch a lot of content on YouTube and stuff like that. A lot of our young men, especially in middle school, they're getting hit with this as well because they're constantly under peer pressure and they're constantly trying to keep up with like the Joneses and stuff like that. But brother, it's so bad in middle school to now where they feel all this pressure to where they got to get all these shoes, they got to get all this clothes just so they can attract a mate. And I would like to tell those young men, bruh, it's not worth it because you're going to constantly be in debt, you're going to constantly be broke, and you're going to constantly trying to keep up with purchasing all these things when at the end, like you mentioned, all it takes is for one more guy who has a better car, better clothes, he's going to leave you. So is it really worth it? And then the guy's messed up because now he's in debt, and then on top of that, he got left. So, I mean, it's really, really, really terrible. And this is a point that can be talked about, like I said, for weeks about us buying materials for the opposite sex.
I know you always read our points. You can read number 12, but I wanted to say something before you took this train a little bit down the road. I want to say, you know, just like with people's homes, a home is what it is. It's a place where you live. It's your abode, and it's fine. Right. But some of us, Chazz, we got to have a couch that wraps around the room 3 times, and we got to get a big screen TV that's big as the house. And then when another TV comes out, we got to outdo that. We got to get a refrigerator. We got to get a stove. Now, a lot of it is necessary because we need these different type of materials. Okay. But a lot of times, Chaz, we see somebody with it, or we see something on TV and we really don't need it. But we're so materialistic. We got to get the latest carpet. We've got to get the latest rugs. We have to have the latest curtains. And this is ridiculous. These appliances, man. You know, we don't need a refrigerator that'll go down the street and see who's coming to your house. We don't need all of that stuff, but that's what materialism will do for us. And I know we're exaggerating today. We're overemphasizing this, but we have some problems in our community, and I don't think we like to address it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say this real quick, and I'm gonna pass it. There was a movie that came out. I think it was Martin Lawrence. He came out. I don't know if it was Big Mama's House or something. And Jermaine Dupri made this song. This is an old song. I forget the movie, but it was a song that kept playing, and everybody was blaring it. It was around 2003 or 2004, and there was a lady with this high-pitched voice, and she kept saying, "I got to have it," and everybody was bumping this song for years, bro. I forget. I'm gonna have to Google it. And this song
go with all that, man.
And this lady kept saying that, and Jermaine Dupri was having this lavish lifestyle. But you can Google it. It was a song that everybody just was bumping, and it goes to materialism.
I got you.
As we go to number 12 here, many of us are material because we feel that we cannot survive if we don't continue to acquire things. Some of us ourselves as failures.
Yeah, we see ourselves. Yeah, well, some of us see ourselves, like you said, some of us see ourselves as failures if we don't have those things. Now, I'm going to tell everyone something that they all know. You're not going to die if you don't have the latest things. But see, what happens is in our minds, we put it that way. So when we don't get the latest things, we get depressed. And you say, Jah, what's wrong with you? Well, man, I've been trying to get the latest equipment for my music and I don't have it. So I don't want to eat, I don't want to sleep. But as soon as I get that equipment, when you say, what's going on? I'm hyped now. I'm excited, you see. And so this is what happens to us when we're very materialistic as a society, as a people who really can't afford it. And I guess this is why we don't have these discussions with our grandchildren and with our children, because we're at a state now in the United States of America where we're on the decline. Now, we don't want to say this, Chaz. We don't want to say this, but we're on the decline because everybody thinks they know everything. We don't want to listen to people. We don't want to take practical truths. We don't want to share in what we're failing. We don't want to share our successes. And so what has happened is many of us have become so materialistic that we actually lose sleep over the things that we cannot get.
Absolutely. And it's well said. It's even to a fact where some of these shoes, I don't know if they still do this. For example, some of us have a new shoe that we see at Foot Locker, Finish Line Champs, or Dick's Sporting Goods, and we'll wait in line. The store opens at 10. We outside at 9:30. And they say, it's kind of like first comes, first serve. And some of us are waiting this line for hours and hours and hours to copy these new Jordans or whatever the shoe. But when we get in the store, they don't have the shoe as many copies of the shoe. They don't have as much. So we get in the store and we realize that they don't have the shoe anymore. Brother, some of us, we just go home and we just lose it. Where I see videos, people crying. They're upset. Yeah. They feel like the world has come to an end. And I get it. They really, really want the shoe. But all you got to do is wait. The shoe is going to probably be more in stock within a month or two. And when you say that they cannot survive, I've seen numerous videos of people just going through it because they couldn't get the shoe as they stood in line at Dick's Sporting Goods or Champs or whatever for the new shoe, and they just ran out. And it's unfortunate to see how we act when we can't get the things that we really want. Brother Ray agrees. He fires in here and he says facts.
Yeah, because he knows facts when he hears them. See, he knows facts when he hears them, and a lot of us, we just don't. We're like people who have lost everything. We've lost our minds. We've lost our sense of reason. We've lost our sense of logic. We've just lost everything because we know in our hearts that this broadcast is talking to all of us. It's encouraging all of us. But we still refuse to see that many of us are materialistic, and we have to do something about it. If we don't, we're going to end up like most people, broke, always in debt, always sad because the things that we acquire don't fulfill the void that we have. We don't love ourselves. We don't love those in our family. We don't know how to be companions. We don't know how to love life. We don't know how to enjoy nature. I can go on, but I'll get off that rant now because I know that that's true when it comes to people being materialistic.
Absolutely. Number 13, being overly material diverts from community involvement in many instances. Yeah, there's always things in our community as far as the neighborhood, just being a watch person for crime or weird behavior, things like that. But when we're overly material, we're not thinking about that because we're overly, and some of it is overkill. We're overly looking for new cologne. We're overly looking for these new Chicago Bulls hats. We're overly looking for these new Versace lenses. It's when you overly do something, it gets you more in depth. And like I said, it takes away from the fact, as you said on the screen, from getting the community, trying to find out how to help the youth, especially, or just all kind of things. So I would definitely agree with the note on this screen.
Yeah, because a lot of times, instead of us, like you just mentioned, helping the youth, helping the senior citizens, and even helping ourselves, or helping some things that's going on in the community that need to be addressed, we're too busy trying to find things. We're too busy like a hound dog. Now, I'm not calling anybody a dog unless someone misunderstands us. I'm not calling anybody a dog, but I said like a hound dog. We act, right. We're sniffing, trying to find something, trying to get something, and then when we finally get what we're sniffing for, that lasts for a little bit, and then we start sniffing again. And so here we are just sniffing, the tail is wagging, going crazy, because this is what has happened to us. And the thing of it is I have to be honest with myself. I have to check my own self, Chazz, because there are times that I'm just like that hound dog that I just talked about, you see? And so I got to stop that, because that's only going to get me in debt. That's only going to have me sad. That's only going to have me stressed out. And that's why we have to have these kinds of discussions.
We definitely do, brother. No, our values are not rooted in giving others money. It is about communal strength, not possessions only. I'll let you take this and I'll piggyback off of it.
Yeah, because the values that we have, which should be unity, which should be self-respect, all the values that we should be having, which should be common sense things. It should be about helping ourselves. It shouldn't be about giving our money away to others to get things, to be material. We shouldn't be giving. See, we should, and we always talk about the European and other people coming in our community. We're a part of that, though, because we give them everything that we have, you see. We give them everything. We give them our money. We give them our time. And it's because we're looking for things as opposed to saying, how can we pool our own resources together and value, get strength that we need, because we're definitely a weak society.
I would say, like you said, I definitely agree with you with what you just said. I'm just saying the way our youth and a lot of our black brothers and sisters look at it. Like you said, the inside, the good qualities, like you said, common sense, respect, self-love, and all that, that's good. But brothers, our youth, they're not thinking about that. They like you say, they don't care about what's on the inside. They want to see something tangible. Like I said, a watch. They got to see something that is tangible on the outside. But I do agree with you. We do need to get back to these things, like you said, self-care, stuff like that. But our youth and our black brothers and sisters, most of them, they say, I don't care about that. They want to see something that's that they can acquire to get hyped. Brother Ray, he fires in here. He says, facts. Poor folks buy. The rich people aim to invest. Absolutely. They look to these stocks. They're putting their money away. In fact, they have so much money that they're constantly investing on how to get more and more of it. And they're not really caring about, buying all these expensive rims and stuff for these cars. And like us, we try to act rich to keep up with them, but they're just constantly investing their money. He's right. The poor folks are the ones who are doing all this unnecessary shopping.
Yeah, but see, another reason that many of us are so materialistic is because we watch TV so much. We watch videos so much. And when you have rappers, we don't like to talk like this, but when you have rappers telling you that you're nothing unless you have this gold, which most of them don't have. They just wearing it in the video. When you have rappers that's in cars, that's jumping up and down, and it's like the latest sound, when you see rappers that have women that look like they're cut out of a doll book or something. So we're trying to do that. So we see that so often. And so now we've become materialistic and don't realize it, but it's because of all the things that have gotten into our senses, all the things we read when we see these entertainers wearing certain things. We want to mimic them, but we don't.
Right.
We don't have it like that. And I remember one day, I think you told me, and it was years ago, that you actually believe that if a celebrity put some doodoo on his head and wore it for a while, that a lot of people after a while, they would do the same thing because they want to be like that person.
No, I was saying it was like a stick. You get a stick off of a tree and you get you some tape from Dick's Sporting Goods and tape it on your shoulder. I bet you if Patrick Mahomes or somebody, LeBron James, Magic Johnson, any of these guys, if they said on Twitter, this is the new style, for a week, you wear a stick, tape on your shoulder, I bet you 90% of the African Americans, we all will be walking around CVS, Walgreens, Target. We'll be walking around with sticks on our shoulders. I know we will.
Yeah, you talking to me, Chazz. You shooting in the dark and you hit something, because when Nelly came out with that Band-Aid over his eye, I ain't gonna lie. I wanted to get me one. When Nelly came out with that Band-Aid under his eye, I thought about it. I ain't gonna lie, Chazz. I really thought about putting that Band-Aid. I like that kind of stuff, but you see, that's how foolish I was. And I have to work through that because that's crazy. But I was willing to go get a Band-Aid and put that thing under my eye so I can look like Nelly, man.
Hey, you ought to change. Brother Ray Fires back in here. He says, some people are economically childish, buying a bunch of nonsense because the money is burning a hole in their pockets. Absolutely. And we all have had an issue with this. Instead of, like you said, saving, we're itching to buy something. And sometimes we may have got a bonus on our check or ran into a little bit of extra money or got some overtime at the job. Instead of saving that money, like you said, like Ray said, it's burning a hole in our pocket. We're on Amazon. We're on eBay. We're on all these sites. We're just fishing and itching to buy something. So, yeah, he's spot on with that comment.
And this is why we have to sit our children down. And I know people say, Jahi always bringing up the children. He always bring up the grandchildren. And it's not just because of a teaching aspect of the world that I see my lenses. I see everyone through teaching. But I think it's true that we should sit our children down and begin to teach them, our grandchildren, and let them know when they get a little chump change in their pocket, don't always want to run, as Ray was hinting to, and have buying things, because it's like we don't, when we have money, we act like it's something wrong with that because we have to go find something that is material, and that's not what we should be doing, but that's what a lot of us do.
Yep, burning a hole in our pockets. Number 15, materialism puts possessions over personal growth and weakens us. Yeah, if you can keep this up too, materialism does put possessions over everything. In fact, it's the number one, it's the end all be all. It's either you have it or you don't. The have or have nots. If you have it, good. If you're not, it's really not about anything. You're not about nothing. And in fact, it doesn't teach you, as far as materialism, to work on yourself personally on the inside, your weaknesses, your flaws, things that you're struggling with. And you don't have to broadcast to us what those things are, but it basically says that materialism trumps all of this, and in fact even weakens us. Is like I said, all it takes is for us to really want something really, really bad, can't get it, and now we're in a funk. So yeah. I definitely agree, it weakens us.
And I want to cook this too. I want to cook this a little bit, because what we're saying is, even sometimes we can't work on ourselves because we're too busy chasing things. We're too busy trying to save up for the next whatever. We're too busy trying to, figure out how we're going to get something instead of looking at our own lives. And this is the problem that we have as a society, especially as a people, because instead of us saying, I need to sit down and work on myself, I need to work on my lying, my health, I need to work on a lot of things personally, how I interact with people, all of that. I'm too busy trying to find something to buy that I don't look at myself. And that's a problem that many of us adults have, but we don't want to admit it, because we don't want to do anything about it. And that's definitely something that we have to look at.
Absolutely. And Brother Ray Fires in here. He says, my ex-wife used to spend her money on crap and sweat me because I hold on to money. She used to tell me, you're gonna died owing someone. Glad I got away from her. Yeah, well, that's he has another one. We read this one for our comment. He says, then she would complain about living paycheck to paycheck, shaking my head. That's something right there. At least, like you said, he got away, but like you said, she has to learn how to not be so materialistic to where just ready to buy any and everything. And like Brother Ray said, she's constantly living paycheck to paycheck, and that's not to knock her, but we got to always work on, like you said, saving some of our money. But that's good that he said he got away with as he could.
Well, we're going to do a commercial right quick, Chazz. You know, a lot of people don't realize this, but we do have commercials on our broadcast where we talk about something that's positive, or if you're doing something that you want us to announce it, we ask that you just share it with us, and we'll be glad to share the information, even if you're out of state. So what we're going to share now is, this is what's going on, Chazz. This Sunday in San Antonio, Texas, it's Den of Royalty. The sister that we talked about, Sister Zuri, Jean, she's selling plates, but she's selling plates for a purpose. The purpose is to raise the money enough to feed the homeless. In about 3 months, she's going to have a massive homeless feeding. And I think this is something that we definitely need to talk about when we talk about sharing community service. So she's asking people to join us by either donating or either by purchasing a plate, especially if you live in San Antonio, Texas. And if you don't want the plate, just to donate. So this all the information, I think we've talked about it, Chazz, for many, many weeks on this broadcast. And I think it's just time that those who are doing something positive, let us know. Share it with us, and we will share it with you. We're not going to charge you any fees, but we'll share this information because it's all about giving back to the community. This, in this case, it's about helping those who are less fortunate. So let's not talk about what we ought to do, but let's begin to do it. So I know you have something to say about this plate sale that's coming up to raise money to help the homeless.
Yes, it's a wonderful thing for the people who can donate. We appreciate it if you can, but this is something that's legit that we're trying to feed back and give back to the homeless. That could be me, you, any of us. All it takes is a terrible car crash. All it takes for us to get sick out of nowhere. We will want food. We will want shelter. For this sister to actually be taking her time to go out and try to spend time and talk with the homeless, see what's on their mind, seeing what they're lacking, and to try to feed them is a wonderful thing. So we ask anybody that's in a financial position, if you can, please donate and come out to see what this sister is doing. It's legit, and she's trying to feed the homeless, and I think it's something that's really, really wonderful, and we hope you guys can make it if you can. Number 16, materialism puts many of us in debt. The more we acquire, the more we owe. And in fact, we have some bills that may be due, and we see something and we say, you know what, that bill can wait. I'm going to go and get that new diamond ring, or I'm going to go out and get X, Y, and Z. That bill can wait. And in fact, the interest and stuff starts to pile up, and then we get angry when we open our mail and see that we owe way more because we're constantly pushing our bills back to acquire materialism. So yeah, this is something that's definitely true. I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, because when you really think about it, we all have debt as far as the bills that we have to pay, that there's a must. But then a lot of the things that we don't need, that's materialistic, we get. And that's why we're really in debt. It's not, people always say, oh, I'm so in debt, these bills are piling up. And the bills are piling up. But if you subtract those material things that we purchase, the bills wouldn't be that high. We would probably have money to save. But we got to have courses like we're having now. We have to have lectures. We have to have classes. We have to have honesty about how we are in debt, many of us, because we're very materialistic. Now, Ray said that feeding other people is a physical act of, he says live, but I believe he meant love. He also says something about how he shared this to multiple groups on his page. I just hope people would respond. So, Chazz, I think we only have about 15 minutes. And if I can dial this back up again, because we may have some new viewers. Okay. We want the new viewers to check this video out. So bear with me. I might have lost it, but we have to play it again because this is a video that was done in 1954 where they looked at us as a people and they said they gave us secrets as to how people take advantage of us. And so we want to share that video right now so we can tell people about that. But here again, Ray just made another comment. I think I want to put his comment up real quick. And then, okay, yeah, he says physical feeding people is a physical action of love. So let's see if I can find that video. If I can't, we'll just talk about it, Chazz. But I think it's worthwhile looking at it again. Okay, hang in there, everybody. I'm gonna try to get this video going.
Okay.
Here is what sales psychologists have to say about selling to the Negro.
The secret of selling to the Negro is expressed in one word. That word is recognition. Now, there's nothing unusual about that. People want to be recognized. They need recognition. That's basic in all of us. But perhaps because he's had so little of it, the Negro needs even more. He needs to feel important and appreciated. This need is a very real and important one. It shows up even in many of the Negro's shopping habits. Anyone who sells or wants to sell to the Negro customer should know about some of these habits. 3 habits in particular play a big part in every sales transaction. To begin with, most Negroes buy by brand. They ask for products by name. They're quick to turn down off-brands. Buying by brand, that's the first important Negro buying habit. Now for the second. The Negro buys good quality merchandise. Symbols of quality and prestige are very important to the Negro customer. This woman, for example, is buying fine crystalware. But she is also buying the admiration and approval of her friends and relatives. Listen to her thoughts.
My, isn't it beautiful? I can hardly wait to show it to Sally and Joan.
It's a well-known fact that many Negro customers are influenced by the opinions of others. What their friends may think of a certain item often decides whether or not the sale is made. So remember, the Negro buys quality merchandise. That's the second important point. And here's the third thing to remember when selling to a Negro customer. When he specifically asks for one thing, don't try to sell him something else. Don't catch him at the point of sale. If you do, he'll probably react something like this.
Doesn't he think I've got the money to pay for it?
The Negro resents being offered a substitute. He wants to be sold on quality, not price. The Negro buys by brand, he buys quality, and he doesn't like to be switched at point of sale. These are the keys to selling the Negro customer.
According to leading researchers, in proportion to population and income, Negroes buy more quality products than any other comparable United States group.
Chazz, I just don't know what to say about that, man. As far as it being so profound, man. Because I remember going to school, if you didn't wear the Chuck, they call them Chuck Taylors now, but back in the day, you know, we call them Converse.
Right.
If you didn't wear those, people would tease you, you see. They would, even though they cost more. So you see the psychological damage that was done if we didn't wear the shoes that cost more, and many of us couldn't afford them. So we had to, if we went to Kmart or a place like that, we got teased when we went to gym, and everybody snickering and laughing, because this is a mindset that the mindset of we're African Americans now. But as he said, you know, the Negro back in that time, though we could just change the word to the African American, the African American so-called, it's nothing changed today, Chazz. So, and I know there should be a lot of information that people should be willing to share, because that's how my family is. That's how I am. I have to work through that. But see, we hide behind these cell phones, we hide behind these computers, and we are some of the biggest materialistic people on the face of this earth, and we don't want to stop it because it's been out of control for so long. Now we don't want to do anything about it.
Yeah, and it does, brother. It does a lot of damage to that child. I'm talking about, because that still happens to this day. Kids who are in middle school, high school, their parents may not be able to afford the new Converse or Jordans or LeBrons or whatever. And that kid who has to shop at alternate places like Payless, or somebody has to donate shoes to them in the family. When those children see those kids walking in with those type of shoes, like you said, the kid is already embarrassed, and they're constantly ragging on them. They're teasing him all day, every day. It's just a nightmare for that child. And that child is constantly going through turmoil, because this is not just a one-day thing. This is an everyday thing. You know how kids are. So my heart goes out to those children or teenagers who who are constantly getting joned because they may not be able to afford some of these clothes and shoes. But it's unfortunate that people are like that.
And let's fast forward to today, because those very kids who tease them are now adults. And now when you come in our home, we want everybody to look at our furniture and see if it's the plush kind of furniture. We want people to see the lamps and the shades, you know, and we always say, you know, I like nice things, and there's nothing wrong with nice things. But a lot of us are just materialistic, you see, and we don't want to have a certain kind of shade. It's got to be the shade that everybody else has. It's got to be the 70-inch now with the quadraphonic sound coming from all around the speaker. we want everything. So this is problematic, but yet it's real and it's true. It's very true.
It definitely is. Number 17, many of us are not teaching our young ones on the pitfalls of being obsessed with things. We're not teaching them at all. In fact, we're doing the opposite. But when we don't teach them these things, they learn at a young age that if you don't stop being obsessed with these things will do things to you mentally. These things will tear you up spiritually. So we have to teach our young ones that, hey, it's okay to have things, but don't make that your end all be all, because if you don't, it'll drive that kid insane when they're constantly chasing, and then they can't acquire. Now they're all messed up. So I would say that we need to
they're
teach
messed
them
up, Chazz, too. They're messed up too because we are adding to the low self-esteem. They already have low self-esteem issues with themselves. Now we're putting on to them as parents, because we're not teaching them that if they don't have certain things by a certain age, now they're nothing, they're failures. So on top of low self-esteem, now they're looking at they don't have many material goods, and now they're so depressed they want to commit suicide because they have nothing to live for. So I think that's very important, man. And we have to. What has happened to us, Chazz, and this may be off the subject, but what has happened to us as a group of people that we don't want to have these types of discussion? We want to talk about the halftime Super Bowl. You know, we want to talk about Kendrick Lamar. You know, we want to talk about other things. We don't want to talk about this, and this is where we're struggling.
Yeah, we I'll definitely touch that up. We got a comment, Sister Barbara Fires in here. She says, "Thank you for your purchases and donations. Your support is greatly appreciated. Den of Royalty." Okay. Brother Ray Fires behind her. He says, Negro is a Greek root word for necro. that translates to English, it means dead. Wow. That's deep. That's terrible. And he comes back at us again. He says, them Kmart special plastic shoes be tap dancing and slide on the ball on the court. And then he says, them black sold gym shoes you are not allowed to wear in the gym because they leave black marks on the gym floor. And then he says they colonize mind commercialism.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, he touched on a lot there, but yeah, as we move on real quick, it says, note, spend our resources with our people to help them achieve solutions for our communities. I'll let you take that and I'll piggy off of it.
Yeah, we said something about this earlier. Our communities are in dire need of things. And if we're going to spend our money foolishly, instead of spending it on things that are frivolous, we should spend our money on things that are necessary. That's all it's saying. And it doesn't have to be $1 million. You know, we can sit down as men and say, hey, maybe all the men are going to put in some money in the community and we're going to do something important, something special, you see. So that means that we have to think, you know, we can't just complain about materialism. We have to do something about it. Or we should teach classes, especially to young men and young women, on how to make sure that they spend their money very wisely. See, these are the things that we can do, Chazz, because this is important that we stop and take time out to address these issues and quit talking about all those things that are just they're just senseless, you see.
Yeah, and I'll agree with you. There's, like we said, there's nothing wrong with acquiring things or anything like that, but we're taking it way past the extreme here, and it's definitely unfortunate that we're like that. Let me ask you this real quick: do you think there'll ever be a time in society where it kind of swings back a little bit to where things aren't really amplified as they are now? I'm talking about material wise.
I don't think so. I think we're too far gone. So what we do is we try to take those who are interested, because we can't, the damage is still being done. So we're fighting against an uphill battle. People that are trillionaires that keeps pushing out things on social media, pushing out things on television, pushing out entertainers to sell us crap, pushing out movie stars to sell us crap, pushing out athletes to sell us this nonsense. So we're in an uphill battle. But to those who want to say, I want to take control of my life, I don't want to be material. I don't want my children to be material. See, I need to sit down and teach them that those things are not you. Those things are that's your wealth, or that's your resources. Those are your things that you purchase, but those are not you. When you buy a car, when people say, is that you, Chazz? Yeah, that's me. No, that's not you. That's an automobile. See, you're different than those things. And oftentimes we don't get people to really talk like we're talking about it.
I'm gonna read Brother Ray's comment, then I got one more question. He says, it's not a black community if there's no black community business in them. Yeah, a lot of our businesses,
people, right?
Huh?
Yeah, because you're giving your money to everybody else. So he's right. You're just saying you're giving your money to everyone else. So you can't say it's an African-American community or black community, because we're purchasing everything from other people, which would making us more and more materialistic. Go ahead. You're going to ask me a question?
Yeah, real quick. I think a lot of us are wealthy. I'm going to just piggyback off this saying. This is what I was told, and I know you still hear this. If you have it, health is wealth. So if you're healthy, doesn't that mean you're wealthy?
Well, yeah, it means you're wealthy from the standpoint of your physical needs, but you're not wealthy when it comes the standpoint of how we think, because if we can control our thoughts, we will take care of that. So yeah, we are wealthy with our health, and that's a beautiful thing. But with the mind, man, if the mind is not concentrated on these things we're talking about, our children are going to suffer. Our grandchildren are going to suffer. Our family is going to suffer. And this is why it's important that we have this kind of discussion, because materialism is a very important thing that's happening right now that a lot of us don't like to address. So that's why we're emphasizing materialism. And again, this is our last week talking about it. So next week we'll talk about something else. But, you know, it's like beating a dead horse. How many times can you tell us as people that we have to pay attention to how we spend our money? That's all we're saying. We're not saying you have things. See, we need classes and courses and broadcasts and podcasts that's going to talk about this practical stuff, other than always talking about who slept with who dissing who, which comedian doesn't like which comedian, you know, who's wearing these clothes, what Beyonce got, you know, what Ye's going to do. These are the discussions we should have, Chazz. But we don't want these discussions. This is why we don't tune in every Wednesday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time and 7 o'clock Eastern to look at something practical that we can teach our children, that we can do. You don't have to go to church. You can come to Adults Only. You don't have to go to the mosque if you don't want to. You can come to Adults Only. You don't have to go to the spiritual gurus who are chanting and using incantations to try to make you think something. You can come to Adults Only to get some practical truth that everyone can do. Who wouldn't want that, Chazz? And that's my little soliloquy as we sign off. But who wouldn't want that?
I appreciate you for having me on. But tonight was a profound broadcast about materialism, what it makes us do, how it makes us act when we don't have it, and the effects that it has on us and our youth. Teaching our youth at a young age that no, it's not about acquiring materialism. It's okay to have it, but don't let that be your end all be all. And even for us, getting in debt, pushing bills back to acquire certain things, and some of this stuff is just foolishness. Now, once again, we're not against people who buy things, but when it's getting to the fact, like I said, when you're pushing bills back, you're late on a lot of things, it's totally not worth it. And here's the thing. We're constantly trying to fill a void. And you cannot fill that void with constantly purchasing all these things. And just remember, even if you are sad or if you are angry, purchasing things are not going to be the answer. We had a comment, Sister Mashana says Shemotep. Appreciate that last comment. And have you thought about, that was it for me, brother, but do you have any suggestions on next week?
We'll talk about some. You know, we're going to come up with something within the next week or so. So whoever's watching this broadcast, don't worry about it. Just relax. We're going to come back and we're going to be able to share with you something true, something that's very truthful. Raymond says, don't be economically childish, be responsible and practical. That's all this show is about, practicality. But nowadays, we don't want practicality. Like I said earlier, we want sports. We want entertainment. We want a cell phone in our hands. We want to do all these things with cell phones, but yet this is teaching our children how we should take care of the little funds that we have, how to acquire wealth, what to do with wealth. Don't always want to get something because you see it and it looks pleasant to the eyes. That goes for men and women, young men and young women, boys and girls. That goes for senior citizens, you know. So these are the discussions that we have to have. Unfortunately, many of us we're not interested in this, but yet we know, Chazz, that our families are struggling. We know that we're struggling, but yet we don't want to do anything about it. So once again, I appreciate the idea that we have to come together on a Wednesday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time, 7 o'clock, and we get a chance to talk about these things that are just, Chazz, I can't stress the importance on our subject. So once again, we're going to sign off, and we thank all of you for tuning in to the broadcast. You mean so much to us. You could be doing something else, but you chose to come and spend your hour with Chazz and Big Brother Jahi on Adults Only. And I hope you've learned something, and I hope you can take what you've learned and share it. So we have one more comment, then we'll get our outro, and then that's it. And Brother Chazz says this. Brother Raymond says this.
Them Kmart special.
Nah, here it is right here.
Ray says, "Oh, wish heaven within to all."
Yeah, that's beautiful. So Chazz, having said that, we'll let Ray have the last words on this broadcast. So having said that, man, I'll see you next week. Take care of yourself, and we'll come back and make sure that we can do something that's very positive. Okay, so take care of yourself, man. We'll see you.
Take care now.